welcome to another session of Women in Leadership with V. In these sessions and in these episodes, we amplify the voices of women in corporates as well as in entrepreneurship. And this episode, I'm excited because it touches the heart and it's closest to my heart and says something that I've experienced. And I'm sitting with three phenomenal women to shoot this episode to help all the sisters who are out there who may be experiencing what we're experiencing, and we want to make your journey a little bit easier. My name is Wuchiro Masibigeri. I'm going to be your host today, and we've got the ladies, the three phenomenal women, and they're going to introduce themselves. We can start with you, Mosili.
Hi, my name is Mosili. I am a chef by profession.
Hi, my name is Noluthando and I'm a writer.
Hi everyone, my name is Loice Alusala. I am a mother first, a sister, and I also work in government. Thank you.
Ah, thank you. So that was like a complete different areas of our lives. I think we were just on the spot. So in this episode, I want us to sit back and talk about perimenopause. If I can share my experiences with you, I knew about menopause, I knew about growing up, and people had told me, when you get to menopause, it's like being put on fire. So I was ready. I was like, you know what, I need to take my ice and put so that when the fire comes, it doesn't hit me that much. But then I experienced the worst symptoms, and I just felt like I was gonna die. I remember praying to God to say, God, please don't make me die, because I'm still young. I still have a lot. I still want to go to places. And then, and as I was going to different dermatologists. I was going for breast scans. I was even taking x-rays, because there was just always something every day that I didn't even understand. And one day I realized I'm on perimenopause. Who knew that perimenopause could be something that will kill you? So let's start with the symptoms. I think I've already shared my symptoms with you. Let's start with the symptoms. What were those symptoms that really surprised you?
If I go first, I think for me it's the brain fog and constantly being frustrated at not remembering things that were obvious and conversations, and the frustration for those in my family that particularly didn't understand what was happening to me. And then the weird one was one day being at a function and waking up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. with really sharp pains in my breasts, and I thought there's breast cancer, and I didn't know exactly what was going on, so immediately booked an appointment to go for a mammogram and a scan, and just being told, well, it's normal. This is, your system, your body is fine, but you have to take some medication, some help. You need help, and reduce your caffeine intake. So for me, brain fog was a big one, and gratefully just managing diet and things like that has really helped.
Oh wow, Loice. You're not strange to the breast. I went to do, I think, 3 scans because I was like, maybe my doctor is getting it wrong. But my breasts were heavy. Yeah, they were so heavy, and I just didn't understand. Like, I'll go for a run and I'm like, no man. First, I changed the bra. I thought, no, maybe the bra is not working.
Oh, yeah.
I bought another bra but I could feel that, no, I was out of sorts. Yeah. Noluthando, what were your symptoms?
For me, I think the changes in my period, it was just hectic. And because the changes were so drastic, I started reading up on what could be making these changes, right? But every time I came across information about menopause, it didn't click for me that this was one of the things that I was going through, right? I never made that connection between the changes in my period and menopause. And then I started having night sweats, like drenching night sweats, to the point where I have to get up, change my pajamas, change the bedding even, because everything is just wet. And because I used to work in health, I thought, oh my God, I have TB, because drenching night sweats is a symptom of TB. So I thought, oh Lord, TB. I went to my doctor. And it's like, no, you're fine. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm fine? I'm telling you. You know, like, what do you mean? I'm telling you that I'm not fine. And I said, okay, what are the symptoms? And of course, you know, being a woman, they always ask about your cycle. So it was only when we started talking about the cycle that he was like, oh, I think maybe you're in peri-menopause. And it was a shock to me, you know, because it's like, what do you mean?
And what is
young.
peri-menopause?
What are we talking about? What do you mean? You know, so yeah. That's how I sort of got into that journey of finding out about this peri-menopause, what is it, and talking to other women about their experiences.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And Mosili,
I think
what was your symptoms?
just like her, periods. Extremely heavy, extremely painful, and long. That is the reason why I went to the doctor. But I've been experiencing other things prior to that, but I didn't know what was wrong. So I just thought, oh, probably it's stuff that will pass. Went to the doctor, told her what was wrong, and immediately she said it's perimenopause. I've never heard of that before. Sitting in front of her, I Googled. Then I saw all these other symptoms. And like she said, you know, I was like, I'm still young for this. And when did we get here? But now I know about menopause, not perimenopause. It's a new term.
Yeah, me too.
Then I said, okay, I've been experiencing a couple of these symptoms, which was one, I couldn't just jump out of bed. I had to negotiate with my body before getting out of bed. You know, my painful joints, forgetting stuff, painful heels, fatigue, insomnia. You know, so there were so many other things that only after I went to the doctor I was able to say, hang on, even this as well is part of this.
Yeah.
And I started reading about it. I started following people who were talking about it. I tried to learn as much as I could from other people, because even going to the doctor, they never, and saying this biting my tongue, they never give you everything. I think they give you as much as they want you to know, and then they reserve a bit, maybe for you to keep coming. So I did research on my own. But one thing that I made up my mind on was, I'm going to try and treat this with natural products as much as I can and as much as possible.
Okay.
So that has been my journey.
Okay. I think talking about the doctors, my doctor is a man. So I've been having these different things, and I would go to him and I'm checking my blood pressure because it would go up and down, and I was checking my foot, and you know, he was so relaxed. He never, you ladies were lucky. He never told me I was on perimenopause. And then one day I sat back, I was like, I've been going through this for quite a while. I think now I paid attention because it was being compounded. So, ladies, when you realized you were on perimenopause, how did that make you feel?
I hated it. I don't want to lie. That moment of, okay, perimenopause, this is where we are now. It was a shock to me because honestly speaking, I didn't see it coming. And every time I mention this to friends, they're like, oh, but your hair's white. Like, you know, you should have seen this coming. And like, I started going gray at around 30. So that wasn't anything new.
Yeah.
So it never really occurred to me that like, okay, now I'm entering a new phase of womanhood, you know? So I was very upset.
Oh
Because
my
I
goodness.
had to change my whole, the way that I looked at myself, the way that I see my identity. I was like, oh, okay, now I have to embrace being an older woman. So to
No.
you
know what? I learned a new word. I definitely learned a new word. And the word is a woman of a certain age. Never call yourself old, please.
Woman of a certain age.
A woman of a certain age, and it's good. So embrace that. Loice, how did it make you feel?
I think it's moving into a new season, I would call it. But I think it's the shocker of growing up, because I think for a long time I have felt inside me like I'm still young. I've got a
Yeah.
lot of potential. I've got so much to do. But I think you have to have a conversation with self and realize that it's a new season.
Yes.
And I think the limiting factor for me was with my joints. Sometimes I'm not able to do what I expect myself to be doing. And I'm like, my body's not cooperating with me. I feel like I should be able to do this. Why am I a bit slower? And simple, normal today things like being able to clean my house. I was someone who would wake up in the morning, and if I was my cleaning day at 10 o'clock, I'm done and I can sit chill. There's no way I'm able to clean my house and finish by 10 this day. And just like I'm a bit slower and getting a little bit frustrated. My mind is not as sharp as it was. Someone who's been very competitive, I think, growing up, thinking, I mean, sky's the limit, but realizing that I have to take a step back and also know what my limitations are now more than they were before, but also now wanting to sort of refigure myself, find myself afresh, and realize that it's a new phase. Embrace it. There's still so much that I can do.
Yeah.
We are
Embrace
rebranding.
myself.
That's you,
We are
Yes.
rebranding.
Yeah. And I think that has really come from the support, talking to other people, other women who are going through the same. And a big frustration. I think you've talked about your hair graying, but I still see you've got beautiful long hair. I went through seasons where I cut my hair. It's not growing as fast as it used to grow. And you can see the hairline issues. And those are issues about we now have to get new hairstyles, possibly just learning to embrace the journey in this new phase as well.
Oh goodness!
Yeah.
Talking about old, and in my 20s and my 30s, I would look at my mom complain about this, the joints, the what, and I was like, this woman. Now I'm there. I'm like, oh, now I understand. Yes, I fully understand. Musid, how
For
did it
me,
make you feel?
It was the most frustrating period because I didn't know about this. One thing my doctor said is, I can't tell you how long it's going to last. For me, that was frustrating. How long am I going to be in this? Nobody knows. It could end tomorrow, could end 5 years' time, it could end 10 years' time, 3 months. So me not knowing what's happening is really frustrating.
Yeah, that is
And
frustrating.
now, because it's not something that we speak about openly, you're still not sure who you can discuss it with, because remember, we're not prepared for this. You get it, and then it's like, what does it mean to me as an individual, as a woman, and you talk about one or two people about it, it's like, oh, I've never heard of it before. Does it mean you can no longer do X, Y, Z? And automatically people jump into the reproductive part of you. That, so that means you can't have X, Y, Z. So it was frustrating because even growing up, it was not something that we were prepared for. We were not even prepared for menopause. We hear people talk about menopause, that you reach it at a certain age. And I think for the longest of time, it has been something for older people. So you look at yourself as like, but I'm still young. Why am I the chosen one to go through this at this age, And sometimes when we like Nolu said, like, her hair started, becoming gray in her 30s. But you don't prepare, certain things you don't prepare yourself for. Like, every year you turn a year older. But then you hear people say, oh, but you don't look your age. So you're not prepared for that age.
Yes.
Because another thing is, you don't look your age. Oh, are you 40? You look like you're in your 30s. But now, why am I experiencing this?
All people's problems.
It is. And most of the things are old people's problems until you experience them.
Yes.
You just spoke about your mother. My mom would come back from work and sit on the couch and like, make me tea. I hated that. Like, this woman is lazy. that is what would always go on our minds. Like,
Yeah.
you have been in the office the whole day, sitting down. You come back home and you're telling us that you're tired. What were you doing? You didn't walk from work to home. You drove. You get home, you are telling us how tired you are.
You want to.
You want tea. Now, I am in that space where I go from work, home, onto my couch.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Because I am exhausted.
Yeah.
And if you can ask me, what were you carrying the whole day that you are so exhausted? Nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is interesting. But look, even for me, when I say I was in perimenopause and I'm telling people, no one seems to understand why is this still a taboo? Why are we not talking about it openly? Why are we not discussing it and sitting down and having perimenopause parties?
We should. Nice idea.
Yeah.
We should.
Yeah.
We should, because you're suffering, you're on your own,
Yeah.
you don't know what's happening. Like for me, my symptoms, I even thought I was gonna die. I was like, God, please, I'm still young. I still want to go to these places and that places and do this and do that. Okay. So for me, the other thing that happened was to the emotional toll. The sitting down and finding that I'm feeling low. I don't even know how to explain it, but I just don't have the energy. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to see anybody. Whereas I used to wake up, jump out of bed, and I'm excited and I'm happy. What was that emotional toll for yourselves?
For me, like I said earlier, it was really coming to terms with what my body was telling me about the phase of life that I'm in. And like the others have said, not being ready. Like, that, you're getting older, and that, the seasons are different. But I didn't know that I was in the season. And so it was dealing with that disconnect between how I saw myself and what my body was telling me, and bringing the two together. That was very hard. But I like the way she put it when she said it's a new season. So you have to be able to embrace new things, new experiences, a new way of being, a new way of moving in the world. And I think that's what, apart from the physical symptoms, that's the hardest thing to do, because you really are changing your identity, your self-perception. So,
But the issue,
it's a journey.
though, it's not about the new season. If you knew that you were going to get into the season, you were going to be prepared for it. You're going to buy the umbrella for the rain.
Yes.
But what happened to us is that we got into it, we got
Without
frustrated,
knowing.
it was emotionally draining, and we didn't even know what was happening. So Loice and
For
Mosili?
me, it was not, I didn't experience the emotional changes. For me, it was more of the physical. The sweats, the hot flashes, joint pains. So I had to deal with that. Now, how do I navigate this? That I can no longer just jump up from a chair. I need to negotiate with my body now. We are standing now. you have to. You cannot. You negotiate with your body. It's like, oh, we are standing, and for a couple of steps, you walk like your granny used to walk before you can straighten up and then continue as if nothing has happened. That for me had been the biggest challenge, negotiating with my body, because I had a lot of symptoms. I remember one time a friend sent me a clip. It had about 25 perimenopause symptoms.
How many
I
did you
ticked
have?
18 of them. I ticked.
No, you're hectic.
It was that bad that every week I tried something new, a new supplement, a new herbal tea or something, because I was reading,
Oh my
So,
goodness.
but I think the physical affected everything else that was going, Now, how do I deal with this? How do I adjust to me no longer being able to jump? Like, Loice was saying, she's active, and how do I now bring the two together? I can't jump from a chair. I need to negotiate with my body that, hey, dude,
It's time to stand.
it's time to stand up.
I think I was lucky because my physical symptoms came gradually. I think I was being hit by one after another, so they didn't all come all at once. So I could manage, but I was thinking as they were coming one by one, I was like, "Oh my God, what is it? Am I sick somewhere? Am I dying or something?" What was the emotional toll on you?
I think it's really like I've been on an emotional roller coaster. It's the best way to put it. And whereby on one day you're on a high and the next you're really down and thinking, oh my gosh, this thing just makes you feel like you're coming to the end of your life. And on some days it feels like, what have I done? I had so much that I wanted. I'm not sure if you had the same experience, but when I was growing up, I think in high school we used to have this motivational speakers that came by and told you to write down your goals, what do you want to do, and we had this idea of what I want to achieve in my life, and now suddenly this age is catching up, and when I look down that line, like there's a couple of things that I haven't been ticked off. And you realize I don't have the capacity to do that. Am I a failure now? Other people around me. So you just go into sort of a place where it's dark. And then the next day you realize, no, actually, I'm fine. And I think it's just this emotions connecting with yourself that has been really bad. But I think one of the other symptoms, I'm not sure if anyone experienced, but I think we have, is insomnia.
Oh,
That's a way of life.
I struggle with that. Yo.
And people don't understand sometimes if you live with people in the house, where's your sleep? Because I think they say in my home, let me not say it's in our culture, but in my home it was said, old people, don't sleep much. So if I'm suffering insomnia, I don't consider myself yet in that old people's group. But what's this? Where's my sleep gone? Why am I awake at 2 in the morning and I can't sleep? For crying out loud, I'm really closing my eyes and trying to sleep, but nothing. Sleep is not happening.
Yeah.
So that's a real big one. I wish I was more productive during those times when I've got insomnia, but you're tired. Your
and you're
body's
worried.
tired.
And you're worried.
You're
sitting there, you're worried. For me, insomnia was the worst because I'm the person who can sleep for 2 days. And now I found myself, like I sleep throughout the night without waking up. And then I found myself waking up between 2 and 4 or sometimes between 2 and 5. I'm like, oh my goodness, now I have to hear the footsteps and this and that outside, which I never got to hear when I was young. So that was challenging. Okay, if you can think of one symptom that was the most challenging, what was it?
Night sweats.
Yeah, I don't know, hey? Because
The one.
yeah.
Okay, you can do two.
For me, it was just the heavy periods. That
Okay.
was the worst. It's still, it's because I had, you think you've figured out this thing, you know what to do at that time of the month.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like you're starting over. You have to learn
Yes.
all over again how to manage it. So for me, that, I could have done without that.
Yeah,
Yes.
the heavy periods I've also experienced, and it's like, this you're able to walk around it and drag yourself through the painful period and stuff. But the night sweat,
You're right. The night sweats are bad.
sleep with one leg. I would sleep with one leg out of the duvet, but now I'll be cold. I'll be sweating and cold.
Yes.
So now the rest of my body is covered. One leg is out. The fan is on throughout the night. So I had to learn also to live to sleep with the sound of the fan on. When you choose your
Manage.
battles. Yeah, you need to manage this. So you need to choose your battles.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what would I rather have? A peaceful sleep or a body that is coping for me to be able to sleep?
And it's a difficult choice.
Yeah.
Loice.
For me, it's the insomnia that was really frustrating. I think just being exhausted, wanting to sleep, and not being able to sleep, for me, that has been very challenging. But I think it's getting better now, and mostly because I just drive myself to a place where I'm completely exhausted at the end of the day. So I work out mostly in the evenings. And so by the time I come back home, if I hit the gym in the evening, come back home, have a cup of herbal tea, then at least I'll get some sleep.
But do you sleep throughout the year or
Throughout
throughout
the
the
night.
night, or do you wake up at 2:00?
I definitely do wake up still, but at least I'll get sleep. At least I'll be able to sleep and get a few hours proper. I mean, some days it varies. On some days I'm able to sleep properly, but I will still wake up twice, 3 times. And I also really changed a lot, I think, in my room, how I sleep. So I've gotten these days with Google and stuff. I have like music, those nice music that you have to play. Sometimes it's the sound of rain or something. Just make sure that my room my bedroom is really conducive for me to sleep.
Okay.
Sometimes that's what I have to do. But so it's coping. So I'm well rested, better rested than I was. There was a time where sleep was really a big challenge for me. So yeah.
Okay. Now, for me, it's also the sleep. Like, I wish I was still young because I used to I used to sleep. Like,
Yeah.
I could sleep for 2 days. I was that person who hits the pillow and I'm gone. And if my alarm doesn't go off, I don't wake up. I was that person.
Wow.
Okay, I think we've experienced this perimenopause for a while
Yeah.
now. What are our coping strategies? What can you say are the coping strategies?
I think for me, it's diet. You really have to be careful what you eat. We're not able to eat whatever we wanted as before because I think your body reacts differently. It just chooses I haven't figured out my body. On the one day I'm fine, the other day it's just doing its own thing.
Yeah.
So you really have to be careful to eat. I would say what's a clean plate. I think a colored plate. I'm going knowing me, someone who loved white pap, sometimes I opt for Mabella, the brown pap with sorghum, just trying to eat clean. But also exercise has really helped. It's something I don't enjoy. I would say I don't actually enjoy exercise.
But you want to
it's
live.
a good thing that I have to do. And I'm choosing to do it
Yeah.
because I think it's for the benefits. If I had a way out, I would just chill. But I really make a conscious effort to exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that helps.
Yeah.
Coping strategies?
For me, the thing that I found most helpful is just listening to my body. Just giving your body what it needs. If you're tired, rest. If one of the symptoms that came up briefly, but we didn't really go into, is the mood swings. Right? 1 minute you're fine, the next minute you're just irritated, with everything and everyone. The next minute you're depressed. So being able to maintain that self-awareness to say, you know what, it's not the people around me, it's me. Let me take a step back. So maintaining that self-awareness. And then the other thing that has really helped me is parsley tea and evening primrose oil. Because for me, managing the period was the most frustrating, the most stressful, the worst thing ever. There was just so much going on. It's the pain, it's all of it. But those two things have helped me get to a point where, I can say, okay, I know what a happy period feels like. So, self-awareness and supplements.
I'm happy that you talked about the mood swings and the depression, because they said most women are misdiagnosed with depression. So they're given depression medication and not peri-menopause. So you go there, you've got your mood swings, and they say, oh no, you're depressed, and then they hit you with depression medication. Whereas you could do something like the diet and the coping strategies that we're talking about. Mosili, what is your coping strategy?
For me, has been taking supplements. And I said earlier when we had a conversation before we started this, I try now to go for things in the natural state. So the herbal teas. So I'm constantly on Google trying to see.
And the podcast.
Do you know the postcards? So I I make sure that I never run out of my supplements.
Okay.
And for the past 4 to 5 months, I've not experienced the symptoms. So I'm not sure whether it's the supplements helping or I am off it, because remember you're
It's a phase that you're going through.
So it will end.
you know.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure whether it has ended or it's what I'm taking.
You're managing.
So I make sure that I never run out of this supplement.
Because you don't want to find out.
I don't want to find out whether
These things are working or have gone through that phase. Yeah.
Let's open the supplements.
But
Okay.
the
Which
other
kinds
thing-
of supplements are you taking?
I take vitamin D, magnesium for insomnia. I take lavender, chamomile, and vanilla tea every evening with ashwagandha, and a whole lot of supplements. Like, if you check my house, it's like a mini pharmacy.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's like a mini pharmacy.
Oh my goodness.
I have over 30 stuff that I'm taking, but I don't take them all at once.
Okay.
You know, if I remember, oh yeah, I have this tea, let me do it. I have this drops, let me take them. You know, so that's how I've been coping.
Oh my
It has
goodness.
worked, and I don't want to change it.
Yeah.
No, don't change it.
Yeah.
If it's working, don't change it.
Yeah.
For me, I'm doing the supplements, I'm doing the diets. I realized, that's why I said I went to the dermatologist and everything, because my skin, I was having this, you see my skin is not smooth. So the sugar was just doing some other, and I didn't even realize. I was going to the dermatologist and they were taking out these things, and I'll come back and then they're coming back. Only afterwards I realized that it was sugar, because they said our gut doesn't digest sugar the way it used to. So I think sugar is one of the things that we need to take up too. So
And
I've
that's when
cut
sugar is
sugar.
in everything.
Yeah.
I know, but I've
You have to
literally
eat
cut
organic.
sugar, cut off sugar, and
Yeah.
I watch what I eat. I still eat pap.
Yeah.
You
Are you
know, I
eating
grew up-
brown or white?
Why?
Oh.
Switch to
I
sorghum.
grew up.
Yes. Yeah.
I wanted to try it, and
Try
I'm
it.
like, I grew up on white pap.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
want to leave it alone.
Yeah. But I just also
And the
wanted
side
to
of
add
brown
it.
pap, hey?
No,
Eh?
brown
When it's
pap is
cold.
fine.
You know.
No, the side of it.
Yeah,
cold.
I can't. I'll try it one day, but
Nobody
I'm
wants to
like,
eat
I look at it, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
not yet.
Yeah. I was gonna say
But
that
I had
it-
to change a lot
change-
in
change
terms
a
of
lot.
what I eat
Yeah.
and the exercise. But I still feel like now these weeks, I think I'm getting it.
Yeah.
I feel so much better.
feel
I
more in
can
control.
I can
Yes.
understand my body, and when I eat the right food, I can feel, I'm winning.
Yeah.
That's
Unlike
good to
before,
know.
yes.
Yeah. Well, is I think magic,
It is.
as well. So
What is it? Tea?
it's
Capsule.
capsules. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
and you drink it at night?
I take mine in the morning.
I do mine in the evening. It's like literally next to my bed. So like otherwise I would
I haven't
forget.
tried that.
Have
But,
you, like your body will
um,
thank you.
Yeah. And when I
Ah.
discovered that,
Another
I was so
addition.
Yeah.
excited and bought literally for my mom, my mother-in-law, my sisters, my older
They're all
sister.
happy with it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I was just like, try this. So I think it's a really good supplement to take as well. Yeah.
No,
yes,
I'm
I
buying that.
co-sign.
Message.
Yeah, we're getting
We're
it.
buying that. We're buying that. So, ladies, we spend so much time at work. We go to work. We are there the whole day. Have you received any support from work, or does the employer understand this perimenopause, the stage you may be going through, the mood swings, the aches and pains?
The fatigue.
The fatigue. Do they understand? Are you able to maybe educate them on those things?
Yes. And if you remember, when you reached out to me, immediately before you could even finish your statement, I said, there's a lady that I know that I work with. Loice is the best person. That's what I said, Loice. I did not even hear what she said. I was like, yes, because Loice is heading up this women network at work.
Okay.
And one of the things that they have been educating people about is the perimenopause.
Okay.
So
oh, you guys are lucky.
I would say yes, my employer understands. As much as we've not had, I'm now talking about my immediate line manager. We've never had sat down and had one-on-one conversation about this period.
Okay.
But I think I am blessed in a way that it's flexible. So when I'm not okay, I'm able to say to the people that I work with, is like, you know what? Let me just take a nap in the car for an hour. I hope he's not going to see this. You know, because my body is, you know, telling me
Yeah.
to rest a bit. So with what Loice has been doing together with other people in the Women's Network, I think we are really driving the message through to people who make the rules and the laws and saying, you know what, you work with people who experience these things. And the symptoms might be different. How now do you handle the people that you line manage
Yeah.
when they are experiencing any of these things? You know, so big up to Loice.
Mosili, that's a lot. But I think we're fortunate to be in a place where I think we are allowed and it's accepted for us to raise issues that impact on us as women. And if you look at the workforce, generally we've got more women that are I wouldn't say getting
a woman
older.
of a certain age.
A women of a certain age. And we, for example, have a wellness room. If you're feeling out of it and you need to take a break, you can, make use of the wellness room in our office. And we've got, I think, for me, really, I've felt empowered, and I hope my colleagues as well are empowered. We've got menopause, for example. We're talking about peri-menopause, but it really started off as a menopause support group. And it's been really great and fantastic being part of that network, where people talk about their experiences, coping strategies. And I think what has been most interesting is also to get testimonials from our male colleagues who have had the experience of what's been like walking the journey with women in their families. And I tell you, it's amazing. This was before I even hit those perimenopause stuff, where we have people who've hit menopause at an earlier age. So people in their late 20s, early 30s, we think it only hits you when you are 40 and above, but actually some people start early. And interesting that because in most families, most African families, you would find this is not a topic that is discussed, but there were things that are pointers. Sometimes you would find families where maybe those days, a lot of our parents, grandparents didn't have family planning, for example. They didn't use birth control, but you find they only had one child or two children. And this was replicated in the families. And you'd look back and say, but wait a minute, what was happening? It's because people hit menopause early. And you didn't know, so their reproductive, issues were impacted early, but you didn't know. So this has been a space for us. We're fortunate at our workplace that we really have a lot of support. What I would like to see, and I hope people that will listen into this podcast, if your employers in a position of influence, is to maybe include the impact of menopause in line managers training, if you have training for line managers, because we've got quite a big spectrum of line managers, and this is something that is between employees, line managers, just being able to understand. It doesn't mean that people are unproductive, but they need support. Sometimes the symptoms really require some understanding, because you might not just be in it that day or that moment, and you just need a moment to, step back, and then come back to yourself. So I think a little bit more understanding for what the women have to go through, I think, would be much appreciated.
Yeah. No, that's true. Thando?
Well, I am my own boss.
So you understand.
So I'm very understanding, very,
So you can take a
thoughtful
nap.
towards my employee, If she needs a break, if she needs, extensions on deadlines, I'm very understanding, very accommodating. But yeah, I mean,
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good. That's good.
It's because I work for myself, I don't have to deal so much with a line manager, but on the flip side, I do have to deal with clients and deadlines. Sometimes I've been going through the most and I haven't been able to be as productive as I would normally, and so I have to be able to negotiate with clients to say, "Ish," without maybe going into personal detail, but you have to have that conversation because
That's
sometimes
true.
it's just impossible.
That's
you know,
true.
So
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Okay, I think Loice touched on it. Relationships. So I realized as I was googling that not only that women are misdiagnosed with depression, it's also the area where there's the highest divorce. How has this perimenopause affected your relationships? You don't need to talk about the gory stuff. You can,
I think
talk
you
about
need
the easy stuff.
You need to, once you identify that, you need to be open with your partner and say, or the people that you live with, this is what I'm going through. And you walk this journey with them. Don't make it your own burden. That's when you get support. But now, if you keep it to yourself, every other person is asking themselves what is wrong with you. Especially for people now who experience mood swings. 1 minute you're happy, the next you're not happy. Because what
don't
it
want to do
says to other
anything.
people is not only even in your personal relationship, but at work as well. It says, what have I done? So I have this thing with people that I work closely with, like, today I'm not feeling it. And my colleague will say, yeah, I saw it even the way you walk. We have that kind of relationship, like today is one of those days. So people know, because you're trying to eliminate that thing of now people speculating, have I said something wrong? Have I done something wrong? So you're open from the word go that today is one of those days. Hey, I was like, oh yeah, we understand, and we come up with ways of how to deal with those days when you just know what, I'm not sad, I'm not angry, I just don't feel like opening my mouth. It's just too much.
Or do anything. Like,
And then people understand.
Yes.
And if you have people who really love you and understand what's happening, it's easy for them to support you. Maybe brush it off one of those days. Okay, cool. Let's continue with what we're doing. She will join later when she feels like it, or when she's
that's
okay.
Good. Understanding is good.
Yeah.
Tender.
What was the question?
Brain
Brain
fog.
fog.
How has this affected your relationship? Perimenopause. How did it affect your relationship?
Like she's saying, for me, it's really about being able to communicate and advocate for yourself and tell people, you know what, this is what I'm going through, and this is, I might seem this particular way, please don't take it personally, and also being able to say, you know what, today I don't feel like talking. So my family knows, my children know that there are times when I just want to be alone, and I'll say, guys, I just want to be alone. It's not because I don't want to be with you. It's not about you, but I just need this time. So when it comes to managing relationships, all relationships, it's the two things: communicating with other people and advocating for yourself when you need support, when you need a bit more space, So
Yeah, nice tough.
Yeah. I think they've really said it, that I think being open, because this is a journey that we're learning, and just asking for understanding from those within our circles, close circles, to be understanding, because sometimes we don't actually know what's going on with us. We don't have the quick fixes, and you're like, you used to be this way, and now you're different. It's that season. I mean, we didn't choose it. If we actually knew this was coming, we'd have looked for solutions. But I think communication is key, really. Make people understand and know when you're in it, when you're out of it, out of the zone, you'll come back. It's just momentarily as well. But seeking and learning as well how we can cope, talking to each other, to other women that are going through it and how they cope. I think just sort of lightens your mood, knowing that you're not walking this journey alone, you know. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question that you may not have the answers to. Why then the divorce? Is it the women? Is it the men that are not understanding? Is it the women that are not communicating? Why? Why then are we not navigating this phase? Is it because we don't know, we get sick and we just...
I think people, because we don't know. And I'll never been married, so I've never divorced, so I don't know.
Okay.
But I personally found out about peri-menopause when I went to the doctor. And I think because some people are even going through it, but they have not been properly diagnosed.
Yes.
So they don't know.
Yes.
You just see changes in a person, and because this person does not know what's going on with them, the other day a colleague said to me, sometimes I feel like crying for no good reason. I said, I do a lot of that. I will cry, and I don't know why. I'm not sad. I'm not.
Mosili, like you just
has
Nothing.
No, I haven't done that.
No, I do a lot of that. And you know what she said to me? She's like, oh, okay, then I'm normal. I said, yes, you're normal. I go through that where I just feel like crying. And I do. I cry. If you ask me what's the problem, I don't know.
Oh my goodness. That's
Nothing has triggered anything. Because people will always, probably something has triggered. No, nothing has triggered anything. And because people don't have information about this, I think us having gone to doctors have been really fortunate that we have access to doctors.
Yes.
Some people don't have that access.
And also we can sit together like this and we can share experiences.
So you don't know, you see changes in a person and you said, okay, this is not the person I married. Let me step back. Because even with them, they don't know what is happening. Therefore, they're not able to communicate to say, you know what, today I just don't feel like talking. Because I'm not feeling it. So it's that, I think now it's that period where you're changing as a person and you're not bringing the other person along. They don't understand. So the best way for them to cope is to distance themselves.
Yeah.
And the time you wake up, the gap is so wide that it's difficult to close it. I think that is what causes them. Because I also observed that divorce rate is higher when people are going through that phase.
Yes, that's true.
I think there are multiple factors that contribute, and different people experience these things to different degrees. So what you're saying, I think, is very true, but there are other factors, like for example the fact that male partners often don't know, like you said, what is happening with the woman, and in addition to not knowing, they might also not even care. Because you have to remember, there's cultural things that come with women, just our being. There are so many things culturally that are said, oh, if a woman is like this, it means this. If a woman is like this, it means this. And so in conversations that I have had with the men in my life, I'm single, so not my partner, but men that I know, a lot of them will often express shock when peri-menopause and menopause comes up, because to them it's like, it's over for you. You're not valid as a person anymore. You're not valuable.
You've
Like
reached
you
the
are over.
expiry date.
Yes, exactly. It's that perception that you're dried up and old. So as much as there's that,
And this is the beginning.
and this is the beginning.
Yeah.
You're really coming into a new phase of life, and perhaps we've made it sound like this thing, but once you get past that initial shock of, oh my God, this is what it means, you embrace this new phase, it's really empowering. So I think in addition to the lack of information and the lack of communication, there's also these cultural perceptions about what it means to be a woman who's at that stage, and that can cause strain on the marriage as well. So
And
I think some of the symptoms we've just talked about, all right. So some of the symptoms we've talked about can really be strenuous on a relationship. For my example, I think it's the mental block, the brain fog, that just, I think my husband really struggled with that, and bless him, because he didn't understand. He doesn't, I think some days when I remember things, then he's like, see, you've remembered this. Like, honestly, it's been really hard because I don't think he got it. And I also didn't know what was happening to me. Like, why am I suddenly not remembering? I think earlier on I was sharing about stories that my own sisters would tell me about things, and I'm like, what? I was there? Like, things that we've had together, and I just couldn't remember. So this forgetfulness has been a big challenge. And but I think once you realize and start taking like some medication, and a lot of the supplements really help to get things back on track, almost like celebrating, oh, I remember this is a time for celebration, because like you're talking in mid-sentence, whatever you were thinking just like disappears.
that's frustrating.
It is frustrating. So it takes a toll. I think lack of communication, and I think certainly for women, most women in my circles, close circles, when we've gotten to the age of 35 and above and 40s, people start to assert themselves more. And somehow you know what you want out of life. And sometimes negotiating that is difficult. I certainly think, especially for people who got married earlier, you probably were in a cloud nine zone, I call it, not knowing what you want out of life, and you got together as a partners and started moving on with life. But with time, I'm not sure whether it's this body changes, whether it's some people who have kids earlier. I don't know what it is, but I think definitely after 35, this is my own, conclusion, and some of my friends in my circles, that after 35, you really are more assertive. You know what you want in life. And sometimes negotiating that becomes a little bit challenging. And maybe that's why when you've got different visions, different trajectories, and you can't meet each other along the way, then I think that's when things like divorce happens.
Okay, I think you can wrap it up. What advice would you give women out there who are at this stage but they don't know they're on peri-menopause? What advice do you want to give out today? We want to save people. Our sisters out there.
I think engaging with people, because how you and I got to talk about this, we just in a circle, we started talking, and it's like, oh yeah, I think I've experienced this. And I don't want to say people should research, because not everybody has the luxury of having a smartphone or access to internet. But I think we need to come together as women and start talking about issues that affect us. Doesn't necessarily have to be perimenopause, but there's so many issues that affect us that we just suck them in and we continue with life, because it doesn't make sense to me, or I might be judged, I might be looked as weak. Like I said earlier, when my mom would come back from work and tell us how to act, I just dismiss it as, I was young though, this woman is lazy, So I've reached that stage where I am the lazy woman, But if I don't tell people why, I will just be seen as the lazy woman, I think we need to start engaging more as women. Talk about our experiences. There, when you're talking, somebody might be able to say, oh yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
and this is how you can be assisted.
Tanda?
I think for me, what I would say to women, just all women generally, is do what you need to do to get an understanding of your body, so that when changes happen, you are aware that, okay, this is different from what I'm used to, and you can then start intentionally getting more information. So get informed, I think, is what I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think being self-aware, like you've mentioned, is very important, because then when changes or something doesn't seem right in your body,
Yes.
you'll pick it up. But I think that's something I've learned later in life rather than earlier on, when it was like just running on. But I would say education is power. So speak to people in your circles across different age groups, and just empower yourself with knowledge on what can help you, go through the different seasons in life. And it's like, life is good. Just enjoy life,
Yeah.
In its different phases.
different phases. Just
Yeah, I
enjoy
also
life.
like when I'm at my best, I feel like, oh, this is my best.
Yes.
But sometimes the mood swings comes and I'm like, oh gosh. Okay, for me, I would say what I've learned that I can give advice to other women is that change your diet. You cannot eat the food that you were eating in your 20s because you are a different individual. So diet, I think for me, it has really given me the power back. And exercise, I don't even do much, but I just do a few runs, a few kilometers, I think 3 kilometers a day, and then I walk in the afternoon, and it's phenomenal. It works. So diet, exercise, and supplements, I think that's what we can say to women now. And then also, if you want to do the hormone therapy, you can talk to your doctor about the hormone therapy. I think I'm just gonna give you like 30 seconds to wrap up whatever you haven't said in this podcast. You're now saying it quickly, just to wrap up, and then we can close this session.
Oh, that's been great, really. Just meeting other sisters and being able to discuss this topic that's usually hidden under the table.
Yeah.
I think it's time for us to really come out and talk about these issues that impact us, without being ashamed about, the different phases that we have to go through. So thank you for putting this together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell-
I agree. I think women in general, we do need to come together more often in different spaces, communicate, share our experiences, learn from each other, and learn together. So wherever you are, if that's something that you can do, please do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And also to add on to that, Tando, is to, I think, us as older women, we need to now...
Women of a certain
Oh, women of a certain age. Thank you for the correction, V. I think we need to take it upon ourselves to teach women in our circles, in our communities,
Yes.
who have not gone through what we are experiencing, that there is a period like this. Not everybody experiences it, but in case you see X, Y, Z, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Whether it's to change your diet, whether it's to seek medical help, whether it's to supplement, start exercising, but sort of try and, tell people about stuff like this,
Yeah.
so that when they get there, it's not a shocker.
Yeah. Because as I was talking to you and you were telling me your symptoms, I'm like, oh my goodness, I experienced that sometime. I experienced that. And I found myself counting, and I was like, oh my goodness. Because sometimes you just feel like you are going crazy. Because you're feeling this thing, nobody can see it, nobody can feel
And
it,
you feel alone.
and you feel alone. You feel like, no man, there's something wrong with me. You go to the doctors, you do this and that. So I spoke to you, and I was like, oh, now I feel better.
Yeah,
I spoke to Tana. I was like, oh no, I even feel much better.
You are not sick, but you're not okay. You know that feeling? I'm not sick.
Yes.
I can't really say this is the problem, but I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And then people are not able to help you because then
Yes,
you don't
because
have
they
a
don't-
specific thing that is bothering you.
And you can't even explain it. There you have it. Ladies, that was our episode of the Peri-menopause conversations. Like us, subscribe, and
And follow.
Share.
And follow.
And share. Like, subscribe, and share.
This is what happens in peri-menopause. Sometimes you'll forget everything.